Hello and welcome to this Red Gamer Tech video, myself Amata, where this time I'm going through my picks for the Steam Lunar New Year sale, which is a bit of a quick one. It is only on until the 11th of February. Now most of these, in fact 99% of them, are from the front page of the sale, because those are the games sort of being like touted as being as part of the Lunar New Year sale, but there is a ton of games on offer as always, and sort of a lot in the back end that are a bit hidden. So I've got one included from there as well that I've included just because it's a good game in all honesty. So let's get started, shall we, with A Hat in Time. Now last year we did see a bit of a resurgence of the 3D platformer, and all of these were remasters of classics, like for example the Crash Bandicoot remaster, and of course we recently saw Spyro come out, and we saw Yooka-Laylee come out, which technically was a new game, but obviously was very much sort of lovingly inspired by Banjo-Kazooie. It did come out to some mixed reviews, unfortunately, but A Hat in Time is very, very much in that vein. A very cute and charming 3D platformer where you have various hats with different powers, you explore new worlds, and all that sort of stuff. It really, in my mind, it captures the essence of what makes 3D platformers so good. You know, again, it's charming, it's fun, it's just genuinely enjoyable to just explore and unlock new areas. You know, as always, you've got some items to collect to get to new places, and oh, can I get that item that's way up in the corner of the level there? How do you get up there? Like little sort of puzzles in that regard and all that sort of thing, and just genuinely is a joy to play. It's just fun, which is obviously it's what we're here for, right? To have fun. And A Hat in Time is just very, very well made and very colourful. Just honestly, just joyous is the way I would describe it. So I would highly recommend it if you're a fan of 3D platformers. It's got enough sort of modern ideas in there to kind of iron out some of the kinks that perhaps make some of the older 3D platformers not age so well. And it is currently 45% off, making it £12.64, which is not bad considering that the full game is £23, so a significant reduction there for you. I would highly, highly recommend this game to anyone who likes 3D platformers. But we're going to move on from the cute and colourful to the dark and grimdark, as we have XCOM 2 on the sale, and in fact the whole XCOM franchise is on sale. So XCOM 2 is 75% off, making it £8.74, but you've also got XCOM Enemy Unknown, which is 75% off, words are harder apparently, making it £3.74. And you can also get the XCOM 2 collection, which has a bunch of DLC and all that sort of stuff. So XCOM, as you most likely know, I highly doubt I need to explain this game too much to you, is a strategy game. It is pretty tough, but pretty damn rewarding as well, and just genuinely really fun. I'm bad at strategy games, genuinely, but I love them anyway, like StarCraft and XCOM. I will play them, and probably to my last breath, but I'll probably be bad at them to that point as well, but I still love them. And XCOM 2, I feel like, carries on the torch of what XCOM Enemy Unknown did pretty damn well. It's a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, there's a huge content updates with War of the Chosen. And if you liked XCOM as an Enemy Unknown, you're going to like this one. I mean, maybe pick that one up first if you haven't got it already. As I say, it is only £3.74, so that is a sort of obviously a cheaper introduction to the series. But again, if you have played that one but perhaps weren't sure about XCOM 2 or waiting it for it to be cheaper, it is currently £8.74, which is a pretty nice saving of 75%, and the Digital Deluxe Edition is only £11.99 as well, so not too shabby at all. So, our next game is going to be Nioh. Now this game I originally played when it first came out on the PS4 only, but of course eventually did come out on PC, and the game itself is really, really good. It is obviously trying to be it is a Souls-like game. It has that sort of very punishingly difficult gameplay that you would associate with Dark Souls, and it has a lot of similarities, like you said, at shrines, instead of bonfires and all that sort of stuff, but it has a lot of its own uniqueness as well. And obviously the setting is one of those things where it's, you know, sort of feudal Japan with, you know, Japanese folklore themed like demons and enemies and bosses and all that sort of stuff, and obviously the setting is that as well. And you have different stances which you can switch between, and it has its own merit, I guess you could say. It stands on its own. It's not just, hey, this game is like Dark Souls, therefore it's good. No, that's not the case. It is clearly taken some inspiration from the Souls series, the ideas that From Software had, and ran with them and made what I would say is an excellent game. Very difficult and punishing game, sure, but one game I would highly, highly recommend, especially 50% off, making it £19.99. Obviously pretty expensive, but it is a full price game still on PC, making it, it's £39.99 normally. So if perhaps you were thinking of picking it up but didn't want to shell out full price, which I wouldn't really blame you, this is not too bad a saving, and you're definitely going to get many, many hours of enjoyment out of Nioh. And again, it stands on its own 2 feet. It has a lot unique going for it and has enough of that sort of Souls flavour, I think, to appease any die-hard Souls fan. And at least it did for me, and I love the Souls series. So I'm speaking from personal experience. I love Nioh, even though, like with Dark Souls, I'm kind of bad at it. And speaking of Dark Souls, that's actually in the sale as well, as we have the Dark Souls 3, should I say, included. Not really much to say about this one. You know what Dark Souls is at this point, and you might be jumping into the series with 3. It's entirely possible. You very much don't need to have played the originals to get the full enjoyment. You know, the story of Dark Souls has always been in the background, in the lore, and it doesn't really have a continuing story in the traditional sense at all. So if you perhaps want an introduction to the Souls series, you could do a lot worse. 3, it definitely has its problems, like the environments and the world, the way the world feels, the way it's laid out isn't as good as Dark Souls 1. Like the way, for example, in Dark Souls 1, you can look down from Firelink Shrine, you can see most of like the places you were going to be going, like just there, and the way that you reached them made sense, all that sort of stuff. 3 is not as good in that way, in my personal opinion, but it has, in my personal opinion, the best combat of the Souls series, and that's a very divisive opinion, but I actually prefer the faster paced style here, because the original Dark Souls, it was slow and stodgy and very sort of meandering and just kind of like very careful, and you can still play like that, but you can definitely see there's a bit of influence from Bloodborne in this game, where it's a bit of a faster pace, a bit of a smoother pace as well, where things don't feel quite so dipped in syrup with everything that you're doing. So personally, I prefer the combat from Dark Souls 3 and the improved magic system as well. So I would highly recommend this to anyone, especially if you've never played a Souls game. I would say, yeah, this is not a bad place to start. I mean, neither is the first one. Any of them are a good place to start, to be honest. I would say, yep, that's fine with any of them, but 3, I would make an argument to be one of the best, because it has, in my personal opinion, the best combat out of the Souls games. So, what's the actual price, I hear you ask? Well, it is £9.99, it is 75% off, or you have the deluxe edition with all the DLC, made it 70% off, making it £17.99, and the DLC itself individually is all reduced to 50% as well. So perhaps you have the base game already, but we're looking at the DLC, you also have the Season Pass for £9.99, or the original pieces of DLC for £5.99 each. I played all the DLC, and I would say they're definitely worth picking up if you haven't already. Anyway, so our next game is actually a Chinese developer, and the game is called Icy. For some of you, this name will definitely sound familiar, because this made it to my Game of the Year list for 2016. In fact, I actually extended my Game of the Year list. It's usually 5 games. I made it 6 that year, should I say, because I wanted to include this game, but I did not want to cut anything else from my list to make room for it. It was just really, really good. It is a 2D side-scrolling action game, which is very fun and satisfying to play just as that, but it also has this like meta-narrative that you definitely sort of become familiar with if you've played games like sort of Pony Island or Stanley Parable, that sort of thing. We have a narrator going with you, and you're sort of trying to go against what he's saying, and there's this like very sort of cool deconstruction of exploration and narrative, and you sort of don't tend to question like, why am I following this voice's directions? You know, the narrator's telling you, now she went down this path, and then you, of course, your first instinct is, okay, what happens if I don't go down that path? And the game sort of recognises that you're doing that, and obviously goes, and the voice will be like, hey, I told you to go the other way, what are you doing? And it genuinely is really, really good. I would highly recommend it, especially for the price that it is. It is 31% off, making it £6.20. So, we're going to end up with the game that's not on the front page, but I'm going to mention it because technically it's in the sale, because it ends on the 11th of February, and this is going to be Subnautica. Now, I will admit, I just started playing, should I say, this game myself recently, very recently, like a couple of days ago recently, even though I've got Kingdom Hearts 3 to play. What can I say? I'm like a crow, I just can't help myself. Anyway, so what you actually have here is a survival game. Now, normally, I don't do survival games. I just run that endless loop of, like, find stuff. Oh, and now I'm thirsty, and now I'm hungry, and find stuff, and oh, now I'm hungry. And it just bores me after a while. Like, it's interesting at first, and then after a while I get bored. But Subnautica actually has a story as well. It's not just a sort of survival sandbox, go, you know, craft whatever you want. So there is a mode like that if you want it. I would say that's not the way you should play the game the first time. If you want to play it like that second time round, third time round, whatever, yeah, okay, cool, fair enough. It does have some really cool crafting mechanics. You can make some really interesting stuff, but I like the story elements that are woven into the survival elements in a way that makes sense. It genuinely is a really interesting and beautiful world to explore, and the story is really cool as well. It is 30% off. It's £13.64, so a little bit expensive, but I would say highly worth it in my personal opinion. So those are but a few of the picks from the Steam Lunar sale. I'm sure you guys disagree with a lot of my recommendations. Hit me up with what you would purchase from the sale this time around in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.